Hey, welcome back. This is Our Texas Magazine. I am Michael Sanders filling in for Mr. Berry. And today we have our guest.
Adrian Neely.
And Mr. Neely, can you please kind of tell us your occupation right now, or what are you good at?
Mm, well, oh, that's negligible. I mean, who who knows what I'm really good at? But I am the program coordinator at Tarrant County, the radio, television, film department program coordinator at Tarrant County College in Hurst, Texas,
All right.
Northeast Campus.
All right, let's cut and let's get to the nitty gritty.
Uh
How
oh.
did you know what I'm saying, come to this path? You being involved in film and stuff like that.
Accident. Like, I was working in production, and it was right after the crash, like the recession. When the recession hit,
Was it 2009?
2008, and I did not know, nor did I mean I guess other people had been through it before working in production. I hadn't been through a recession working in production, so I didn't know that one of the first budgets to get cut whenever hard financial times hit is the commercial production budget, like for companies and everything. So Dallas, mostly was shot in Dallas is commercials. So that was kind of like my bread and butter. I would work on some movies and some music videos, but those were like in between commercials. Like the majority of what I did was commercials. So when that hit, I had some more time to go ahead and finish my master's. I was on the very last year that I could finish my master's. Like it was like if I didn't finish it, I didn't waste my money. It was a scholarship, but I would have wasted all that money. So I took that time because I had a lot of time off and finished my master's, and then just worked towards finishing my master's, not knowing anything was necessarily coming of it. And my only experience as a teacher before had been as basically a TA at SMU. I was teacher assistant, so I teach the labs, and I just like my wife's friend. She was always looking on this website called higheredjobs.com, and there was a position. It said adjunct for the position here, and so I applied to be an adjunct, and then I got a phone call, for them asking me to come in, and then we were talking, and I think even before that, the department chair called me and said, there's a full-time position available, and so basically I came in. I was hired as a full-time temporary, and so basically kind of screws up my retirement. I got to work like an extra 2 years because when you're full-time temporary, once they bring you on full-time permanent, everything starts over. So technically, me, even if you look, it says I was officially hired in 2010, but I was working full-time in 2008. And I hope that's legal, and I just didn't out the school on anything. But yeah, that's pretty much how it worked. There was a bunch of us that were full-time temporary, and some people were made permanent after that first year, and some people did another year full-time temporary, I guess because budgets, whatever, they didn't know if the budgets would sustain the positions. So it's just kind of the way it worked.
All right. I'm just gonna say something random, and I want you to give me your thoughts.
Uh-oh.
Black filmmakers.
I mean, like when you say, I mean, that is very random. I mean, just because, like, I guess there's things you could say about them, and there's things I mean, I love Spike Lee. All his movies are 30 minutes too long. Like, I love him. Like, he's like one of the people that I still study. I have the books, like the book about the production of She's Gotta Have It. His DP on his early films, Ernest Dickerson. I still like really follow. I think they're both in a strange way. I think they're like Spike is overrated and underrated. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think he doesn't get his due for kind of like what his contribution to filmmaking, not just black filmmaking. I mean, that's pretty obvious because he's the most prominent that that when you think of black filmmakers, he's probably black directors. He's the first person you think about, even with people like Antoine Fuqua and even Tyler Perry for all intents and purposes. When you first think of like black filmmakers, if you were just to say name black director, probably Spike Lee is going to be the first person people mention. I I really respect him. I love his mind, his process. I still study. I read, like I said, his books. I watch his films, own his films, um, and also feel like, and not every one of his films is a winner. That he's got some amazing movies, and he's got some, like, I don't know about this one, Spike, but I will say that one thing about his movies is they're always interesting. Like, they may not all of them are winners, and some of them are flawed in different ways, but like, he doesn't make like films that you can completely dismiss as boring. I'm sure we probably got one on the. I had a hard time with Red Hook Summer.
I love Red Hook Summer.
It took me a while. It took me a while to like Sweet Blood of Jesus. That one, like, I have a friend who loves it because of the color palette. Sweet Blood. I felt like it was missing something, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
I can tell you exactly what was missing. It was missing Ernest Dickerson.
But I have people like that love the cinematography in that movie. And Ernest Dickerson technically is directing so much TV, he probably just doesn't have that schedule anymore.
No, I know, but when it comes to horror, like,
Ernest Dickerson does have that feel. Like, he understands horror, like, on a Ernest Dickerson studied horror level. Like, that was my favorite. That's why I like Ernest Dickerson so much, because I had a copy of Bones, and I was watching Bones. And if there's a director's commentary on anything, or if there's like a little thing where they just talking to the directors and talking about how they came up with their process, I'm going to watch it. And Ernest Dickerson was talking about Bones, and he was saying how everybody wanted him to talk about how he was inspired by blaxploitation films and whatnot. Ernest Dickerson says, yeah, none of that informed my process. I was watching Dario Argento horror films, and if you watch Bones, there's a lot of like, I pay homage to Argento in different ways, like the color of the blood, to be that detailed to me, like for him to say, it's the color of the blood in Bones, and the thickness and the consistency of the blood in Bones. If you watch Dario Argento, it's kind of the same. It's that orangish, doesn't look realistic, almost looks like paint type of blood. And I was thinking, man, just to be in a director's commentary and hear somebody say something that's not the expected answer, and then for that answer that they give to be so studied, like, just to be, that's an attention to detail that I just, I admire it. And I was like, wow, this dude he studies film. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people who, when they think of black filmmakers, they always look at it as it's just a bunch of black people that pick up a camera. Like, oh, they just picked up. These dudes are, just like, I mean, and that's almost in anything. It's almost like it's somehow diminished. I mean, you will find that with some people. Like, I don't really think Tyler Perry is a student of film, and that's not anything against Tyler Perry. Like, I know a lot of people bash Tyler Perry. I respect his business acumen. I don't have to like every one of his films, but I do feel like his films have entertainment value. And I think, if we're not being super purists and we're not being real snobby about it, that's the point. Like, everybody has an audience. And I think if more people understood their audience, maybe they'd be more successful and not as bitter. Like, Spike sometimes to me comes off as bitter when he went on that little tour with Cornel West, who apparently seems to, if somebody's going, if you want to badmouth another black person, you just go grab Cornel West, and then together he'll show you how to do it. Every time somebody's badmouthing another black person, when they could just say, hey, let's have a sit down, let's have some coffee and discuss this thing. If you want to go have town hall meetings to badmouth a black person, first thing you do is go get Cornel West. And then the two of y'all together go and hold town meetings where you badmouth black people. So he did that with, he and Spike did that with Tyler Perry. And I'm like, well, first of all, Tyler's not there. Why are y'all in a church with this group of people talking about Tyler Perry, and Tyler Perry's not there to sit with you? And then I guess Cornel West got tired of that later on and said, well, he waited a few years, waited till he had a chance, till we had a black president. And then he found, then Tavis Smiley was like, I really need to find somebody who can help me badmouth Barack Obama. And then so they went on their little bus tour. But I feel like that made Spike come off as bitter because, no matter what you think of Tyler Perry's films, you have to appreciate his hustle, because dude was homeless, and I don't care what if you're a multi-millionaire, and at one point you were homeless, you did something right. Or horribly illegal, but either way, somehow you figured out what works for you. And then also, like, I feel like you have to respect his business acumen. He knew his audience. He went for his audience, found his niche, and then still he knows he's not that filmmaker, but he will help filmmakers who are that filmmaker, who make more challenging fare. You know, he goes and helps them. So I can't be, you know, like I know it's popular. And I joke every once in a while, like, oh no, Tyler Perry ain't gonna do it. You know, but he jokes about probably never, the possibility that he'll never win an Oscar. And so I feel like that's okay.
All right. Keeping on Ernest Dickerson. What's your favorite movie of his?
Probably Bones. I know most people would say Juice. I know people would say Juice.
I'm not. No, I wouldn't say Juice. I love Juice, and I wouldn't say Juice.
What's your favorite?
My favorite it's a toss up between Demon Knight,
okay,
and Surviving the Game.
Okay, I give you Surviving the Game is very good. I forgot that was him, but that's a very good movie. Surviving the Game is a very good movie. I mean, you know, and I won't say Ernest Dickerson's surpassed Spike. I say what I notice about a lot of these dudes is even if people don't really know it, they found a way to survive in different spaces. Like Ernest Dickerson has been directing TV for years. You know, like once he stopped being Spike Cinematography, he made his few movies, and he started directing TV shows. And so he's been very successful in that arena. I would even say going back to Sweet Blood of Jesus, maybe it wasn't missing Ernest Dickerson. Maybe it's missing Malik Saeed. I think Malik Saeed, who did another one of my favorite movies, He Got Game. I think, and I know people say He Got Game's uneven and it's this and Ray Allen. I love He Got Game. I love that movie, and I love basketball, so there's something there. But I just love He Got Game. I love everything about it, and I believe Malik Saeed, when Spike Lee was working with him a lot, I think he could have done that movie justice, because Malik Saeed is real good with using color and also using darkness. Like Malik Saeed is okay with something being dark, which a lot of I like. That's kind of in style in cinematography. But if you get with people back in the day, everything had to be lit, everything was flat, everything was, you know, oh, why can't I see this? Why is that falling off in shadows? And it's okay now. So.
You know, I wish Ernest Dickerson, you know, if I had one wish for Ernest Dickerson, I want him to go back and redo his first movie.
Now, what was before Juice? I'm trying to think.
Death by Temptation.
We've had this discussion off.
But you got to look at the
I forgot all about Death. I try to forget every day about Death by Temptation.
So it was an interesting story. It just didn't have a budget.
And I don't know. And it's been a long. Like I said, I haven't revisited the movie because I was just turned off the first. I was like, I'm done. I felt like it had holes in like just as a movie period. Like it wasn't just the look or like they didn't have money for certain things. I feel like it had holes in the story. Like it just it could have told the story. Maybe it had an interesting story. The story of a succubus, basically.
A succubus, and you got and she knows it's a how can I say? It's a person that's coming to destroy her that's gonna be born, you know what I'm saying, on this earth. So she goes and, you know, somewhat kills the father.
Yeah.
And that forces the little boy to, even though he was in the church, that forces the little boy to be raised by his grandmother. And pretty much everybody, you know, who has a grandmother that's overly religious, you know, he picked it up all the way. Then he has to go, how can I find himself with his brother before he just make this big commitment to God. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it had potential. I just,
and then
if he goes and redoes it, might be cool. Like, because I'm sick of seeing people remake movies that were actually good the first time. Like, I don't, like, you know, go take on some of these lemons and remake these lemons. If you're going to remake stuff, like, don't take, like, there's certain movies I don't want to see people remake again. They were too good the first time. They were as good as I feel like I think Death by Temptation would be a great one to see him go back, revisit, remake, make it all it could be. Could have been the first time, you know, without all the production issues.
It's the trauma. That's where everybody it's a trauma film. It was a black trauma film at that.
No, like Lloyd Kaufman trauma.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And those films, I guess maybe in that way, I'm probably guilty of what a lot of black people are guilty of. and not letting something stand on its own or not getting its original intent, because in all honesty, there are black people who love movies like The Toxic Avenger and all those movies, those trauma films, and give them license to be bad. But when it comes, I would say we're strangely not accepting and accepting at the same time of bad filmmaking. Like we will be harder, and I think I'm harder on filmmakers I know that make excellent films than I am on because we do accept some trash. Like there are Maverick film, those Maverick films. Like, you might need to cut that, but that particular, I've seen some movies look like they shot this with did they not, because I've seen some great films shot with their camera phones, but none of them, I mean, some of these movies by Maverick look like people shot them with, like,
so Brian
bad
Hooks,
camera phones.
So Brian Hooks don't get any love?
Brian you did that on purpose because you know how I feel about
Brian Hooks. He went from Fat Beach to, I guess, took his little money from Fat Beach, got a camera, and just started doing, I guess, what was it, The Q? He had a whole series at Blockbuster.
But okay, here's, because I am very much, and it's probably to my detriment as a radio, television, and film instructor. Like, these things probably don't have anything to do with radio. Definitely don't have anything to do with radio, what we're talking about right now. But, like, probably to my detriment, I am very much a fan of the DIY type of filmmaking, especially now, because, I mean, if you really study the craft and have an attention to detail and a good story, like, the tools are such now that with something comparatively inexpensive, I won't say relatively inexpensive, because, like, something that gets you what you want, you're still going to end up spending maybe in the thousands. I'm pretty sure, like, over time on various pieces of equipment and whatnot, I've spent in the thousands, and I know my friends have. I know I'm probably the minimalist because I'm like, I ain't just chucking money at nothing that's not making me money or anything like that. But I'm, I know, I've got the basics and I try to make those things work for me. But I would say that now, if someone just studies the craft, I'm very much a fan, and I study other filmmakers who have made it doing it the DIY way. So I guess in a way, Brian Hooks, it's kind of like the Tyler Perry thing. I fully respect the hustle. I respect being able to, like, people probably telling you that you can't make movies, and then you making them anyway, and you figuring out a way to get those movies done. But most of the filmmakers that I follow, and like I said, that's probably where I'm guilty, are white filmmakers who have done the same thing, but they've not want to say most, because I watch all the genre fare and everything. I like independent films, but there's a couple of dudes in particular that I really am fascinated by their process, because I listen to a lot of podcasts. And started paying attention to them, and I'm fascinated by their process and the way they do things. And they also make pretty good movies. Maybe not awesome, maybe not excellent, but they've carved out a niche for themselves, and it's like making these pretty good movies. One dude, as a one-man crew, made a movie he just threw out on Vimeo, and now he got a budget for making that movie to make his second film. So. And I even hit him up, we had like a little dialogue back and forth, and I feel like, so I'm probably too hard on Brian Hooks, because I really do respect someone who has a skill set that will allow them to go do more than one thing and get that thing off the ground. And then sometimes I wish we would utilize that ability to tell, like, really good stories. Like, I do have and I'm not in a snobby way. I mean, I can appreciate a laugh fest. We ought to be able to make movies that are hilarious and not high-minded. And, black people ought to be able to make American Pie, and we ought to be able to make, an airplane or all this goofy stuff. But we also ought to make movies that, we ought to try to step up our thing and be. And since we know it's going to take a little bit more, because automatically if you make a black movie, people are going to call it a black, or if you make a movie full of black people and it's by a black director, it doesn't get the same, people aren't going to look at it. Then like if I go watch a movie with an all-white cast, white director, everything, it's just a movie.
It's a movie.
It's just a movie. Yeah, nobody says, oh, it's a black movie, you know. But if you have a movie with a black director, all black cast, it's a black movie. And there's all these fallacies that come with it being called a black movie. There's, black movies don't do well overseas. As a matter of fact, they actually do great overseas. The best example of that lately being Best Man 2 went overseas and blew up. Like, it's like these black movies do well, and then, you know, but you that story, The Best Man 2, doing really well overseas, like didn't get as much hype, even though it was in some major publications. But when Black Panther supposedly didn't do that well in China, then that was a major story. That was a story like, Black Panther didn't do well in China, because I believe there is, whether anybody wants to acknowledge certain things, there are certain things that you just you see and you have to just, no, it's not just that, it's whatever. Stop. You know, if we could just be real about certain things, we'd be a lot better off. And that's a thing that Hollywood has always pushed, because, and I think there is some implicit some racism in there. You know, like we don't want to, like we need a reason not to always give black people money for this unless they're doing this type of film. Like Lee Daniels, to me, has no problem getting a budget, but Lee Daniels doesn't always portray black people in their best light. I mean, as a matter of fact, in Precious, he tried to make sure that every black person was the worst person ever. Like you watch a movie like that, or it had so many problems that it was just, you know, Monique is you know, I guess she's an alcoholic. I don't know, meanest mama ever.
Alcoholic, crackhead.
Yeah. Who lets her daughter get raped by the man she married, and then her daughter not only is like in 8th grade at like 28. I don't know. It was like she was so old to be whatever grade she's in. Then she was severely overweight. Then she.
But it was a true story though.
Was that a true story? Was Precious a true story?
It was based on a book.
It's based on a book, but
the book. The girl that wrote the book said it's her life.
Well, man, because all I know when I watched Precious, I don't even remember ever finishing. I was just like, and then it was like each time it was like. People don't like when I use phrases and throw. It was like struggle porn. It was like
you know what?
So many. It's like so many struggles in one movie that I couldn't. I had a hard time.
If you put Precious up, movies is hard to watch. Precious is up there with a Serbian film, and a Serbian film is all out just, you know, debauchery.
yeah, and But Precious, it wasn't debauchery as much as it was just like, there's nothing, like I'm not saying like life doesn't always have this uplifting moment, so watch the movie. I get that, but you know, I'm watching it and then and I tend to notice the trend that these struggle movies are always the ones that everybody hypes up for the Oscar. Like Moonlight, I don't think Moonlight's even kind of a struggle film. His mama's on crack. She's, you know, it's based, both of them had, I think, Barry Jenkins and, what's the playwright's name? Terrell something. They both had mothers that were on crack in this part of Florida, you know, and then and they were both, well, the young man who wrote the script was also gay, living in that part of Florida during that time when it wasn't, definitely not in the black community, when you were if you were gay and in the black community, it was even harder. So it was kind of and I think but at least it seemed like it was a movie about finding yourself. It was kind of like a path film. And
I felt like redemption.
Yeah, I don't even know about redemption. It's just kind of like, it's kind of like a coming of age. Like you just had to grow up. Like you just had to, and there are obstacles in growing up. But Precious, I just, you know, the more I go back to it, I'm like, there's no moment, you know, even when you like, I'm gonna root for this girl. Oh, she's got AIDS. Like, you know, it's like at the
last moment.
Just like, hey, y'all thought we made it. Oh, here's the fastball. Here's the, and it was just like, wow. Like I thought we were about to, you know, finally have this moment where we see our character make a turn. No, her life is just, it started terrible and it's going to end terrible. And I really don't have a problem with that. In some cases, I'm cool with a movie not having a storybook ending if the movie is like, but I don't even know that I found it that entertaining because it was just like, wow. Or even there are movies I watch and they might not even entertain as much as they just kind of enlighten. They make you see something else that maybe you didn't see before. But even that, I don't even know. I mean, probably every black male my age has spent some time in the hood. So it's like I was young when crack like first hit Fifth Ward in Houston. I know what that looks like. Like I know exactly what that looks like as a matter of fact. So, like in a movie, everybody has that thing they don't need to see in a movie just because it's like, okay, well I've seen that. That's not like you're not showing me anything new. You're not showing me anything different. And I felt like that about Precious. I feel, and I just feel like there are like a lot of times I feel like black movies sometimes lack this middle ground. Like we're either gonna make there are certain genres that it's gonna be this. It's gonna be like we're gonna have the struggle, the hardcore like Monsters Ball or Precious or something like that, and then almost like we're gonna come all the way over here and it's gonna be like the crazy comedy with like. Heaven forbid there's never another Soul Plane ever. But like
I think the only person who was able to pull off comedy and drama as a black director, I think it was Reginald Hudlin.
Well, you know what? Rick Famuyiwa. I can never say his name right. The Wood.
Okay, The Wood.
And The Wood and Dope. I like him. Like, cause there's what I like about him is there's new Hudlin too. The Hudlin brothers too, but there's nuance in his film, in Famuyiwa's film, so they're not just one thing. There's elements of their hood, but there's also like, and then we did this, and they're still realistic. Like it's not so much, like his movies aren't so, they show different.
I'm sorry for laughing because
no, I get it. They show black people being different.
You said this, it was like when Stab and them was getting ready to go house the party, and. They like, they getting bats and stuff. Yeah, okay, I'm down with this. Then he grabbed a gasoline can. He was like what?
Yeah.
He like, I was there to go bust some heads. I'm not burning people up.
Yeah, exactly. But I love his movies. I'm excited about Snowfall tonight. I like Singleton, so I'm Snowfall is my favorite TV show. One of them.
Everybody asking what Snowfall is, and I've been like,
my wife. So. You know how On Demand does, like you'll look up and the show won't be there for you to get the episode. So I hadn't finished the last episode. So finally they popped back up. So I finished the last episode in anticipation of tonight because I thought it was Monday. I was like, oh, I'm ready, Because I thought they had said like, I think Monday was the 16th or Tuesday. 6th, I was ready. And then it turned out, no, I had to wait till the day. So I watched the last episode, what was it, Tuesday, in anticipation. And my wife, I'm telling my wife about all these great shows, Snowfall, and I still love Power, even though last season was kind of weak. And I don't know what this season's gonna be yet. I'm only on episode 2 so far.
The man's he's a vigilante now. He's
Batman. He turned into black 25 to life Batman because but and I don't know if I like that turn. Like I get it. I get why. That had to happen, I guess.
No woman, what I'm saying? No woman can make you go kill somebody just because she's not talking to you anymore.
Yeah, well, I watched that, oh, spoiler alert. I guess you have to, but.
No, this crowd don't watch.
Oh, they already seen it, they ain't worried. but so, where were we? Oh yeah, I'm excited about Snowfall and shows like that, but I just feel like, you don't like. I like Dope. I like the Hudlin brothers do it well. The Hughes brothers get a lot of credit, but I think the Hughes brothers. Yeah, I remember when they were on Spike Lee saying Spike Lee didn't make hood films. So they as much as I like the Hughes brothers, they had upset me during that moment back in the day because there are enough people saying, you know, that black people can only make these type of films, and then so for other black people to do that to black people, I was really upset.
Because you gotta think about it like this: the Hughes brothers didn't make nothing but one hood film.
Really, that's true. They made Menace to Society, and I was like, so now everybody got to make you guys, even as they grew older, they made From Hell, and they made Book of Eli, and they made American Pimp, and you know, I mean, and American Pimp is a very good documentary.
And Dead Presidents. Shout out to Payroll, by the way, too.
Woof, He's Dead Presidents, man. That's one of my favorite movies. Matter of fact, I think that's gonna be one of my 10 that I got to post for my friend in the challenge. But like Dead Presidents is an amazing movie, and it's Dead Presidents is one of those movies I feel like, how come this isn't kind of like more?
Because
you don't look at this like a class. It's like you think about it,
it's a classic. But the thing is, whatever one of my favorite actors is involved in a movie, he's not. The movie doesn't get any credit. And my favorite actor is Bokeem Woodbine.
He at first I thought Bokeem Woodbine plays the same dude every time. And then after a while, one of my students, as a former student, I guess coming for a tour, made the single worst production ever created at TCC.
That's
yeah, but Bokeem Woodbine, he got typecast for the longest as like this one type of dude, and then finally got to be like so when he got a chance to play other roles, he really played other roles.
I enjoyed him in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I'm saying like, have you seen the Tupac and Biggie miniseries?
Nah.
It's not bad, and Bokeem Woodbine plays a cop in it.
But it's like I can't watch it, and if me and you was homeboys, and then I go do your show about your murder, and it's kind of
yeah. I get it, but they do the way they do it.
And then you got Johnny Depp coming out with his, and
I don't, Johnny Depp probably just needs to go sit down somewhere and figure out how to hold on to his money. Like, I think that would be, he's made enough. He can stop.
I mean, yeah, because Old Girl was pretty much, he avoided Old Girl.
Mm-hmm.
He skirted out of that, so I think he has to pay like $10 million just to go.
I guess so, but he just, like, from what I understand, he may not even have that. That's why he's making all those Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He needs those big paydays. From what I understand,
when you help people, I mean, he paid Nicolas Cage tax bill.
Yeah, should have done it. Like Nicolas Cage had millions at one point too. Nicolas Cage need to be smarter. Like you can't, I guess, from the kindness of your heart. But Johnny Depp, I think at one point was worth like $400 million. I don't think he's worth that anymore. I think he actually has to make these movies. And I quit watching the Pirates of the Caribbean movies around 3.
But when you help people out, that's why.
I love helping people out, but I also, like, if you were a millionaire and I was a millionaire and you made bad decisions and I still have my millions, you might have to, unless we're like best of friends. Maybe that's his best friend.
Yeah, best friends.
Maybe they're super tight, but it'll be hard. I ain't gonna lie, it'll be hard for me to just like, well, how did you lose this millions of dollars?
But you gotta, I mean, like Dame Dash helping out Lee Daniels.
You and I and Dame Dash.
I understand.
But I've gotten a new perspective on that because I listened to some things. I was listening to Brilliant Idiots and they were talking about it, and so now I get it. Because Dame Dash helped Lee Daniels, of course, make the $2 million was for Precious, and it was like Lee Daniels had made Monsters Ball, so I mean they were saying that Dame Dash actually helped Lee Daniels like really get big, but I don't think that's the case. Because Lee Daniels was gonna be okay after Monsters Ball because it got some Oscar, cred. Now, of course, Hollywood is one of those places where it's like, yeah, we know you made this great movie, but now we can't just, it's still all about what have you done lately. So that, I'm sure he needed that money from Dame Dash. I think my thing about Dame Dash is ever since he came on talking about being a boss and yada 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 and making these good decisions, Dame Dash is great at knowing like Brilliant Idiots made a great point. He's good at knowing, good at recognizing talent. Like everybody, he knows like this is a person that's going to hit it big. Like I don't have to worry about giving my money to this person being nothing. This person's gonna hit it big. So he's very good at that. But you can't call yourself a boss unless you're very knowledgeable in the ways everything works. And to loan Lee Daniels that amount of money, and then you don't have any paperwork, you don't have anything to protect yourself, you don't do, and I don't think they were like so tight that it was like, you just my boy, I'm gonna give you $2 million. So Dame Dash obviously expected something in return, and if you felt like you couldn't just give somebody, if there was anything in your mind that would have told you I can't trust this person to give me back $2 million, because Lee Daniels got $2 million now easily between Empire and the other movies, and in that new show Star. Lee Daniels, as a matter of fact, has a deal with Fox or whatever, so Lee Daniels is okay. It's like, so he could easily pay him back the $2 million, and so that's on Lee Daniels and Lee Daniels' conscience. Like Lee Daniels is wrong. I would never.
I mean, Lee Daniels wouldn't take the steps to, if Dame never ran up on him, and you know what I'm saying?
He would never started trying to pay him. He wouldn't ever. And so I mean, but even the way Dame ran up on him, like I'm like, Dame, if you really want to be taken seriously, because that's what they're gonna always use against him. Those type of moments, which you know, is, like on the Boondocks, they discuss those moments.
But
like
you try to go to legal route ain't working. Right?
No, don't go. I mean, you can, but you still have to handle it behind the scenes. Maybe not even sending your lawyers after him, but you have to handle it. You have to figure out. You don't like find the most public place where there are cameras on the two of you on stage and then decide this is the time. You just have to. Dame Dash is supposed to be this boss. He's supposed to be this and that. Like you can figure out how to get next to Lee Daniels other than on a stage somewhere and make that the moment you decide to do this.
How are you gonna do that when you getting ducked all the time? You know, somebody ducking you 24/7.
He found him. Dame Dash, I'm sure, has found other people other ways. So I'm pretty sure he can get next to Lee Daniels if he really wanted to. I think you just don't do it you don't do it anywhere where TMZ is gonna be able to pull it out later. Like that's not a thing. I know Lee Daniels probably may have had something to do with that. Like I'm gonna make sure I'm always somewhere where Dame Dash can't run up on me. But like I just think you handle it better. Dame Dash is always going to be. That's why he's kind of on the outside looking in as far as these kind of deals.
But you got to think about it.
I'm thinking about it.
We go back to the Randy Ackerman situation.
You mean with Jay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Randy Ackerman. You know.
Yeah.
They called a meeting
without Dame.
Without Dame, and you know what I'm saying, that's his artist.
Mm-hmm. And Jay was as wrong in that as
Def Jam.
Yeah, as Ackerman was. It's like that's Jay's fault too. Worst thing ever. He's showing me the video. Worst thing ever. Worst video ever.
All right, we get
got
ready.
Thousands of views.
We gonna get ready to shut it down, but I'm gonna give 5 directors, and I want you to tell me what you think about them.
Okay. Oh yeah, because you got places to go. I realize this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, you late for it.
Yeah. Let's see. First, Bill Duke.
Bill Duke's interesting because, well, I guess like if we're about to talk about these directors, none of them have like a huge catalog. Like when I think of Bill Duke, he's another one of those people. I forget how many things he's actually directed, and then you think because you used to seeing him as an actor, and he's one of those cats that goes back so far. Like you don't even like if you mention Car Wash, Bill Duke's in Car Wash. If you had a conversation, he'd be that dude that you realize that dude was in this movie and that movie. So I think he's carved out a place for himself because he was another dude that kind of did a lot of television too, like kind of drifted over into the television side, got smart. Like I think that's what a lot of them do. Like they realize they go in, they realize it's easy to how to scooch there behind the scenes and figure out different ways to do things because they have to. So when it comes to Bill Duke, I almost think of him more as an actor. And I know that's not right because as a director, as a producer, he's done some great work, but it's you just kind of tend to look at these dudes and realize they've had to do so many things to kind of survive in Hollywood. They didn't have that chance to like, this is all I'm doing. I don't have to find this other avenue. And I realize that's just Hollywood in general. There are other people who have had to do the same thing, but I feel like with a lot of these black directors, there's not a choice to do it. It's kind of like, nah, I better do it because I'm gonna get this budget for this, and then it's gonna take me a while. I look at some directors like, I'll see if you mention him first, but there's a guy I'm thinking about that's like that, who's one of my favorites. I think he's brilliant, and he's doing some TV now and stuff. But
go ahead and say that.
Well, no, go ahead and throw out the dudes because you might put him out there. You might throw his name out there.
Okay, Michael Mann.
Michael Mann, I mean, the thing about his movies, they always have this like glossy. There's like a sheen on the Michael Mann movie. Like, and I know he's one of those dudes who's. What I appreciate about Michael Mann is that he is willing to, like back in the day, he was always trying to push the technological aspects of filmmaking, which I think when you get purists, they're like, oh man, that's this and that's not what we're doing. That's not film, and it doesn't look like film. And he didn't really let it bother him. Now, I did see Public Enemies and thought, man, this looks almost too...
It looks too pretty.
Not even too pretty. It's almost too video-ish. It's almost too perfect. It looks almost like you watching an episode of the news set in that time.
He shot it in, what, 4K, right?
I can't remember if he shot it in 4K, but it was definitely... He shot it digitally. And I think it was with, like... Because he was, like, Collateral, he shot with, like, the Viper. And Collateral does look a little digital, but it's something... it fits Collateral. Because it's Collateral set in L.A. and it's set kind of, current times and everything. And then Public Enemy, it hit me harder because it's like, oh, Public Enemies, it hit me a little harder because it's like, oh, this set in, it's supposed to be set in like, what, 1930s, 40s. And it has this, it's really digital looking for 1930s and 40s. There was nothing because when you watch a movie, you kind of expect it to kind of pull you out of your reality for a second, and you're supposed to be able to suspend your disbelief for that period of time that you're watching this movie. And with Public Enemies, it's kind of hard for me to suspend my disbelief because it looks like, oh, these are dudes doing a reenactment or something. I mean, that's how it felt. It was like, but I like Michael Mann movies. Obviously, because I'm mentioning the ones that I didn't like, because he did do that remake of Miami Vice, right? That was Michael Mann.
Surprisingly, that's a good movie.
I didn't really care for it.
If you take away the show, and
I guess that's the problem. I grew up with the show, like everything about the show,
because you can't. I mean, did it have Buddy doing the music?
Not Jan Hammer.
Yeah,
was it Jan Hammer? Was it Jan Hammer that did the music for
Jan Hammer and who's it?
Phil Collins. But Phil Collins did certain parts of the music because. That was the thing about Miami Vice when I was a kid. There was, they had music from Foreigner. They had music from Phil Collins. It was always somebody who was big. And so Miami Vice was almost like before you even knew really what it was about and what you watching, it was just like that show you had to watch because it was cool and, they never really explained how Crockett could afford a Ferrari, all that stuff. But you just kind of, I'm watching it. I'm here for it.
All right. Next director, Michael Bay.
He's very good at what he does. Like there's a guy who does these film essays. His name is Tony. I'm gonna mess up his last name. Zhu or Zhao. It's Zhou, I believe. And he does great, just kind of breakdowns of different directors' technique. And he does one on Bayhem, what he calls it, just Bayhem. And when you watch that breakdown, whole new appreciation for Michael Bay. And even. Like, as many jokes as my friends and I used to crack about Michael Bay movies, we would always still go watch them. Like, even filmmaking friends, everybody, like, they're still going to say, we were joking, because I remember when Michael Bay was going to make, Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer, or at least Jerry Bruckheimer, because that was another one we used to joke about lots of explosions, there's going to be an explosion and this and that. And we joke about they were gonna make a King Arthur movie, and we joking, King Arthur's gonna hit a tree, and the tree's gonna with a sword, and the tree's gonna explode. We had jokes. But Michael Bay, if you really if you watch that breakdown, it's like, dude's got his style down pat, and like when people try to mimic his style, those are some of the flattest movies. And when you watch this breakdown, it's like, oh, this is why when I watch this movie, it's so boring. It's so flat. Because they tried to mimic Michael Bay's style, but it's very intricate. It's very detailed. Like, I heard he's a jerk, too. I've been around people who worked with him, and they're like, oh, man, he's a terrible dude. But, and I mean, I guess I can say that. I don't know who listens to the podcast, but it's not like anybody can be listening to Neely's out. You'll never work in Dallas or any other town again. But I've heard he's a horrible dude, and if I've heard it, then somebody else is out there saying it, too. So I guess it's all good.
I can't pronounce his name. Paul
Schrader?
No, not Paul Schrader. Paul Verhoeven.
Oh, Verhoeven.
Verhoeven, okay.
Verhoeven. He did
Showgirls,
which I got as a gag gift from a friend when I got married.
Blu-ray?
Yeah. No. It was too early for the Blu-ray, so he gave me the DVD. But Paul Verhoeven, you know what his thing is? He's a shock. You know, that's his thing. He shocks. Kind of like made the movie Nymphomaniac.
Lars
von Trier.
Yeah.
Like Lars von Trier is a legit filmmaker too. But these dudes,
But I wouldn't say him is shocked because he made some legit
they make legit movies.
You go to RoboCop.
Love RoboCop.
RoboCop, Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
Did he do Total Recall?
No, I don't think so.
No. But
I'd have to IMDb him. This is that moment when I hit IMDb pretty strong. But no, I love RoboCop, especially when I was younger. I thought RoboCop was the end all be all. Starship Troopers is kind of like one of those movies that's like surprisingly good, like in a way, like it's gonna be good, like in that action movie popcorn film kind of way. But then there's other things about Starship Troopers. You're like, this movie's got other things about it that it's clever. But Showgirls, in my mind, just because I got it as a gag gift, and it's utterly awful. But like, I get probably where he was going with it. Like it's almost like he was like, we're gonna make this movie, it's gonna be bad, and then people will like it because it's bad. It's just like.
But they say if you watch Showgirls with the sound off, it's actually a good movie.
And that's the shame of it all, is that you have to watch it with the sound off. You have to. It's not a good movie with the sound on.
I think I was like in the 7th grade, and old girl talking about, I got something from Versace. I'm like.
And then
Versace. I'm like, I looked at something like, that says Versace.
Yeah. That's Versace. What happened? Yeah. But it's Showgirls is what it is. And Verhoeven is a good director. Like, I haven't seen him do anything as of late, but that's just the way Hollywood is. Some dude to make these movies you like and then just fall off and just don't get a chance.
All right. My favorite, John Carpenter.
I like horror movies, but I'm not a.
But he doesn't just do horror movies.
No, he does, because he did Assault on Precinct 13. That was John Carpenter, wasn't it?
Yep.
And that's a good movie. Like, the original is good.
But you can kind of consider that a horror movie.
I guess the situation is horrific.
The horde.
Yeah.
The horde mentality, like zombies.
Yeah.
And I realized he's been he got the idea for the movie Rio Bravo. So
makes sense.
He's been trying, he perfected his version of Rio Bravo. Assault on Precinct 13.
And he's what's my boy that did A History of Violence? Cronenberg.
Yeah.
I put he and Cronenberg together in that way. When they make a horror movie, it's a horror movie. Like, those two dudes, they understand creepy, they understand. And then, but they also can do like these movies that are like more, I don't even know if you call them thrillers. I don't know what you call them, but I know the characters in those films are like complex. Like there's more.
It's the anti-hero. Like, you go
almost the anti-hero, but sometimes they're like, I guess that's the only way you can call them, because they really. But in these movies, some of them are really, 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 really bad people who, for that moment, like when you look at History of Violence, Viggo Mortensen's character, when it's finally revealed kind of who and what he is, there's really, he deserves kind of a comeuppance, but he's kind of reinvented himself, and it's like the reinvented him that you find yourself rooting for, but when you really think about it, you're like, no, but he's a bad person. Like, he's a bad person in this movie.
Like you look at somebody like Snake Plissken.
Yeah. Okay.
And Snake Plissken,
That's a good movie too.
And the way, like, if you look at, because they cut this scene out, like the bank robbery, they got him, caught up with everything, and it also gives context to Escape from L.A., because Pam Grier's character is in that robbery before he became a woman.
Yeah.
And like Snake Plissken, like he doesn't care about it, like he just ended the world, like,
Yeah, this is what it is. Yeah.
And we can go with your last. You know what I'm saying? Your director you want to talk about?
Because at first I thought you were about to just run the gamut of black directors.
No.
But I appreciate the.
Oh, well, who you want me to say? Gordon Parks?
No, Carl Franklin.
Oh, okay.
Carl Franklin doesn't get props to me, and this dude, that's one dude that makes movies that everybody likes. Like, I mean, I've never, like, people give Carl Franklin should be Antoine Fuqua. You know what I mean? Like, he should have that kind of career. Like, Carl Franklin he's made No Way Out, he made Devil in the Blue Dress, and he made Out of Time, and I'm missing a movie. But all three of those movies are just movies. Like, he's so anonymous, which is kind of like the thing about Antoine Fuqua. Like, when I say anonymous, it's like you look at like a person like Spike Lee or Tyler Perry or trying to think one more. It's not coming to me right now.
You say the Hughes brothers.
Well, even the Hughes brothers have kind of gone that Fuqua.
But you can say this about Franklin. Fuqua. His movies is grossed
lots and lots of money.
More than Training Day. I think it's probably his lowest grossing movie is probably either
Brooklyn's Finest,
or either
which is a good movie,
or Tears of the Sun.
Probably Tears of the Sun, maybe even more. No, I think Brooklyn's Finest, because Brooklyn's Finest barely came out. Yeah, like, you know what I mean. Tears of the Sun, I remember Tears of the Sun actually having a theatrical run. I think Brooklyn's Finest kind of just slid on in the DVD, Blu-ray, and cable.
Because it's supposed to be the big return of Wesley Snipes.
Yep.
And like you look at Brooklyn's Finest, that movie it has the grit. Like it combines.
It's amazing. Like I love that movie, and I don't. Some people probably be like, "It's not that great," but I love that movie. I love Brooklyn's Finest.
It's three stories.
Yep.
And it combined, like it covered, like I love deep cover. It's like it covered deep cover, like all in that movie.
Yep.
And just to put the cherry on top, because at least in deep cover, Lawrence Fishburne found his way out.
Yeah.
Don Cheadle, once they killed what's his name? What's Wesley Snipes' name? And he got the most stupidest name too in there.
Yeah.
And once they killed him, he like, I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm good to go. Like, and that movie is just, I think that movie's awesome. I think kind of my borderline favorite Fuqua film, but like Carl Franklin is one of those black directors that avoided like that like you're a black director, like technically I think there's only, people look at like the Highlander, except you can have a couple more than one, but not too many, but like Carl Franklin, he does like really, and he's kind of got his little niche. Like his movies are mostly thrillers, but they're really, I mean, like spot on, well made. Don't miss those beats.
Because you look at Devil in the Blue Dress, right?
Yeah, which is probably.
And you look at the production. You just look at the
attention to detail.
And it looks like 1940s Los Angeles. And then attention to detail. Oh, well, all the black people from Texas moved to California.
Texas and Louisiana black people. And then and you got to credit Walter Mosley with a lot of that, because those are well-researched books. Like, I've read almost every one of those Easy Rawlins books. There's probably only a few that I haven't made it through yet, but I've got I've read more than I haven't, I know for sure.
So, and this is what, another thing, if Tyler Perry can come out with the Medea series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we get You know what I'm saying? More stories with Devil in the Blue.
More Easy Rawlins
Yeah.
stories. Like, because there's a ton of them. There's a ton of source material. I never understood that myself. Because I'm like, the first movie was relatively successful. It has an audience. I know period films cost more to make, which is one reason Hollywood tends to avoid them. But if you can let Brad Pitt be in Troy and have an airplane flying over here, y'all can figure it out. So, like,
or even now, or even making a series, a television, like,
could be a TV series easily.
because HBO picked that up. I'm like,
yeah, because they did Boardwalk Empire, so why can't you do, these these Walter Mosley books as a series? It would be a great. I'll be there. I'd be here for it. If they did that, I would be here for it. I don't understand why they haven't made more of those movies. There are plenty of Jack Ryan got a whole. They keep bringing him back. He been played by about 17 dudes now, so it's not like there's not a, not a precedent for these characters who started out in these novels. Tom Cruise has made 2 Jack Reacher movies, and Jack Reacher's supposed to be 6'5" and like this huge dude. In the books, he's like this huge dude, and you got Tom Cruise running around, breaking hands and all this, and somehow you cool with that. So
but you gotta consider Tom Cruise was also was a greaser.
Yeah.
And he wasn't he part of the wasn't he part of the what's that movie part of the crew in Red Dawn?
I'm trying to remember if he was, because it wasn't
because Patrick Swayze.
That's what I was about to bring up. Patrick Swayze's in Red Dawn, and I don't think Tom Cruise is in Red Dawn though. I don't think Tom Cruise was. I was about to really. But I don't think he's in Red Dawn.
We had to check that out. But we got one more director, and then we gotta go. I know you got the news feed, and I gotta get to class.
I got a meeting. I'm not even gonna be here for the news feed.
All right, Stanley Kubrick.
A genius, maybe. Okay, this is gonna sound horrible because nobody should say this about Kubrick. Maybe slightly overrated. He only made 12 movies, and I think what makes him stand out, that attention to detail. I mean, like a OCD attention to detail, not just like a regular. Like, he would write projectionists and tell them how the movie should be projected, which is awesome. Like, because so many things, and I get it. Like, I get his mentality completely, because so many, you can do something and there's nothing worse than you doing what you think is utter perfection and having the idea of how it's going to be viewed and then handing it over to somebody else and having that somebody else ruin it. So I completely get it. I like Stanley Kubrick because he was about all parts of the process, all parts, because if you look at 2001, it's not really meant. He would make movies, and I guess the only way you could really describe him is he made a movie like almost like it's gonna be an art exhibit, or like he made movies with great, with plots and storylines, but he also made movies like 2001. You could almost argue 2001 is meant to be appreciated more as a spectacle, or as something just to be viewed on a large screen and just taken in, rather than it is all about telling you like an obvious linear narrative type of movie that you'd be used to. It's almost as much about, look how big this movie is, look at the scope of this movie, look how awesome and overwhelming everything is in this movie, as it is about, look at this shot, look what we did here. It's meant to be a technical marvel, and it's not just, it is about you seeing how much detail they put into it, and more than just like, I'm just watching this movie because it's a good movie and I got some popcorn and and so in that movie, and then like he was a genius. Like, you look at the things he did with The Shining,
A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, but and the things he would do to like in The Shining, there's so many things that are technically impossible, physically impossible in that building, like that window behind when Jack Nicholson's character goes in for the interview, that you're not supposed to have that view from that where they are in the building. He would do things like, so somebody who thinks about stuff like that, you can't help but respect and admire. Sometimes I feel like people are just like, oh, Kubrick, because it's the director. They know they can easily pick out these things that he did that were like getting for Barry Lyndon, getting the lens from NASA that had a stop of like the wide open was like 0.75 or something like that. Just crazy things that he would do to so that he could shoot with candlelight only, stuff like that. Like, I feel like so I feel like some people just discuss him to show their pretense to be I'm Kubrick. So maybe overrated was the wrong word, but I feel like sometimes people chuck him out there first, and there are other directors who've done things like Tarkovsky, the Russian director, and all these directors who've done some things. Even Cronenberg, I think Cronenberg does some genius stuff on a lot of his stuff. Like when if you read
Like,
production notes and you see
like
what
the fly is one of the most. It's not even physical horror. It's the psychological thing. You see him breaking down, and it's like,
and it's kind of the body horror thing. It's kind of like, his body's,
and
this is
then
happening.
To find out, that was, like what I'm saying, his answer to, what I'm saying, him thinking about AIDS. You like,
you realize, oh my gosh, like, so I think if we studied more directors' processes like we studied Kubrick's, I bet there maybe not as many now, but I believe if you really dove into some of even these cats that you don't like, because people probably say, oh yes, Scorsese, well everybody studies him and Spielberg and but I believe if you studied you discover that a lot of there's more than just Kubrick that was that level of kind of like genius and attention to detail and trying to do certain things, and some of these dudes are probably just encumbered by budget,
because like I said,
and time, because now everything. Because when Kubrick was making movies, because when I was a kid, a movie might stay in the theater like a year and over a year. It might be, so people had more time to let this movie develop a following, and now it's like movies are back to back. Like if a movie's not a hit in 2 or 3 weeks,
coming to Blu-ray.
Yeah, exactly. If a movie's not a hit in 2 to 3 weeks, it's already out. The next movie's in. It doesn't get a chance.
Because I noticed, like I said, I appreciate his films, right? But I wasn't just a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
But then I finally watched Eyes Wide Shut,
which is the weirdest.
It's weird, but once you start going to the breakdown, like you go to YouTube and just realizing the breakdown, like you said, his attention to detail, and it's like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Let me say this. It seemed like he was trying
to say something else.
And the mysterious thing, he died 5 days after the film, and everybody signed non-disclosure agreements. After the first showing of the film, because it's on record, they cut 24 minutes of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, everything is staying in. Then he mysteriously comes up dead. It's like,
I don't know, it's different.
And then it broke apart, Tom Cruise and
Nicole Kidman's marriage.
It was like,
It was like a lot of weirdness, like kind of around the movie. But I think Kubrick's a genius. But I think people, if they really observe some other stuff, you watch these other cats, like they're all kind of like the uber successful, even Michael Bay. I have to admit, even Michael Bay, probably a genius. Probably like to figure out all those movies when you really watch that thing, like watch Tony Zhu's breakdown of Bayhem. Just look at
it is a Michael Bay movie without explosions. I just thought about that.
Which one?
No Pain.
I don't think I've ever seen No Pain.
Mark Wahlberg.
No Pain, No Gain.
Yeah,
I have seen No Pain, No Gain. Yeah.
The Rock, Mark Wahlberg.
Forgot that was him.
Yeah,
like it's such a departure. No, I mean, it's no robots, no planes, no cars.
And I appreciate that movie because it's like this guy, he tried so long to get on, and then once he get on, everything just goes
to hell. Yeah, I think Michael Bay is capable of making a good movie. Like I think these, he did, but made Bad Boys. Like I feel like. Most of these dudes, like you got to get Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is probably not. I feel like a lot of things he does are lazy, but then I realize, Tyler Perry is probably just trimming fat. His audience ain't gonna look into that. Like I watched Acrimony with my wife, and I probably could have done without that 2 hours, but I watched it, and there was a scene where he's talking about the husband has been trying to get this thing he's invented off the ground, and he's talking about, what he wants in return. He said nobody can have the copyrights to his invention. I'm like, copyright wouldn't be an invention. Like, No.
So you know how people don't go. Look, I can't watch movies with certain people because they think, you know what I'm saying, it's too deep.
Yeah. I've had that. Shoot, I've had that discussion with several people about comedians I like a lot. Like, oh, they don't be like, you know, just to start mess. Every once in a while, I bring up, you know, somebody I know, our people just love, and then say who I think is better than them. And usually it's like whoever in Tupac. I got a friend right now that's mad that I called Ice Cube my GOAT. But it's like he.
Hold on, but did you see the? I don't know, we're Facebook friends, but did you see the video game post that about Scottie Pippen?
Oh yeah.
And you know, people was legit upset with that.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure people get really upset about anything you call the GOAT that they don't consider the GOAT is him. And I know if I just feel like trolling, I can bring up Tupac. I was looking today and I realized every time I'm just in like a trolling mood, there are certain people I use as just a troll. And so I know right away if I bring up Tupac, you know.
Oh, you know they redid the mural for LeBron James?
Oh, did they redo it? They put it back up?
No. It's a whole different mural. It's like it has Kobe sitting on, I guess what's the Western Center?
The Staples Center?
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. They got Kobe sitting up there holding, you know, I guess he had a jacket on holding the ring. Yeah, then it has Shaq, and then it has did Wilt Chamberlain play for the It has Wilt, and then it has
Kareem
and,
gotta be on there.
And Magic Johnson. They all sitting up there, and LeBron is looking up here like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can live with that.
Yeah, because they shouldn't have. They made that first mural, and it was like, dude, they ain't even done anything. And like, he could technically. These dudes that come out of high school, eventually, when their bodies break down, Like, you know, like Kevin Garnett, it was good that one season. They made it through, you know, ran the gauntlet, won another championship. Boom. Like when Kevin Garnett got traded to the Nets, whoo, it was like, this dude has nothing left in the tank. When you see it, when these dudes, Jermaine O'Neal's body started breaking down super early. You know, Kobe finished his last, 3 years with these horrible injuries.
And that's why I know you hate Allen Iverson. I know.
I don't hate him.
No, you think he's overrated.
I think severely overrated.
And this is what I said about Zombie Iverson, right? And it's a video out there I put up to get, you know, especially my cousin Chris Henderson, you know, by marriage. Let me say that, by the way. He was the one that got offended over the whole Scottie Pippen video, and everybody who had a video game by itself was trash. I know what I'm saying. Nobody's like Scottie Pippen's. Look, I spent my money on that for nothing.
Oh, Scottie Pippen game?
Yeah, on Sega CD. So like it was an obvious troll that he fell for and got his feelings with.
Oh yeah, they always do. Like if I bring up my other favorite troll subject is always like Dave. I look because it popped up in my memories or whatever, and it's like I said, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, and Patrice O'Neal, all funnier than Bernie Mac. And then boom. I looked at the comments. I was like, "This got heated." Like,
but it's legit, you know.
It's true.
Even though how I feel about Dave Chappelle, and I was upset that I couldn't go see my boy when he was down here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's legit. Bernie Mac used the same routine since that first Def Jam. That first Def Jam appearance was like 90, 93.
Yep.
And he used that whole gag until the Bernie Mac show.
Yeah, made a show out of the gag. Like, I mean, you know, and it's a funny gag, but he used and then made Kings of Comedy. That gag was in Kings of Comedy. It's like you look at Chappelle and you look at Chris Rock and Patrice O'Neal. Like if Patrice O'Neal hadn't died, the way I laughed at Patrice O'Neal, the way I listened to his jokes, he would have been up there with Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. His ability to observe situations and pull all the comedy out of those situations, I feel like was just like when he was talking about the amount of time that somebody that search parties would look for a person was directly related to how good, pretty or ugly they were. That's a hilarious bit. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen when he was talking about I mean, you know, and it's a real dark subject when they're talking about, you know,
it's real, but
it was funny.
But you know who the other person who brought that up with Patrice O'Neal, and they said the only person that can like you can compare to him now, it was Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle talking on I think it was Q-Tip's show on Beast Radio, and it was like the only person you can put up there with him now is Corey Holcomb. But he's like, why is Corey Holcomb? He's like, for the love of God, why is he staying in New York instead of L.A.? Because if he was in New York, Corey Holcomb would be that dude.
He would be the man. Corey Holcomb is. I need to like really pay attention to more Corey Holcomb. I think he's funny. I every once in a while I just pop into his YouTube show because his YouTube show is pretty funny. But Corey Holcomb to me, I don't even know if he's very, very funny. I have to really see him more to say that I think he's funnier than Patrice O'Neal or Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock.
But you got to go to whatever he's here. He comes here twice a year. He either goes to the Arlington Improv or the Addison Improv. And I think the Arlington Improv is closer to you than the Addison Improv.
Yeah, it is.
You just got to go. You know what the Arlington Improv is, right? In the house. You just got to go there. It's like funny. It's like when, like I said, I know you hate Faison Love.
I don't hate him. I just think any discussion about him being funnier than anybody is just, you know, and especially him talking about Chappelle or anybody else.
Like it works because it was these two guys, and like this is not a homophobic show. Let me say this by the way. It was these two guys. They were sharing an ice cream bowl, and I noticed it at first. I was like,
I'm not.
Hey, you know what? So he can turn around and notice it. He's like, y'all, where's the sharing the ice cream bowl? Like, what? Is this really going on right now? I'm like, oh no, not in my show. And he's like, let me put this out. Nothing against the LGBT community. I love y'all, know what I'm saying? And I feel like fat people should have the same rights as y'all and everything else. But, you know, it's man law. Y'all would not share an ice cream bowl in my show.
This was Faison Love?
This was Faison Love. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I might have had a chuckle at that moment, but I still, Faison Love, for him to say anything about Dave Chappelle. Like, Dave Chappelle's he's just too brilliant. And you know what I like about Dave Chappelle is, especially in the last, like, the two specials, did not care. Like, Dave Chappelle was saying things, like, lately I've been paying attention to, I've just been watching, and, you know, things politically correct, and then there's become so much that's overdone. Like, it takes it over the limit to almost where it's obnoxious, and it needs to be brought back to kind of like, okay, this is normal, this is center. Like, yeah, we don't want to be so offensive as to, but then you're asking for me to, for me to do, now it's like, people can't say anything, and I'm one of those people, I understand people need, I really am one of the people who believe people need controls on what they say. Like, I really do, because I believe some people just have no ability to do anything tactfully. But I also think we've gotten to that point where somebody could say something, be taken completely out of context, and then be shouted down before they get a chance to be like, hey, wait a minute, this is what I meant. And, you know, and I understand why in some cases, like without making it a political show, I see things all the time. I'm like, there's no real way you can justify that or clean that up. That's you meant this, and you can't back off of that now. But at the same time, I've been paying attention to these dudes and just trying to open my mind a little bit to understand, and I kind of like this guy Jordan Peterson, and he's a professor in Canada, and he was and people were saying he's a hate monger, and I was like, I came across him because he was on Bill Maher's show, and I'm like watching him like, this dude's really not, like, I just listen. I'm like, I can't really say that he's saying anything hateful. Like, he's just saying, hey, I don't have, like, basically his whole thing is like, I'm going to make the normal concessions for anyone, anything, anybody. And I'm gonna do those things, and I'm gonna behave like a human being. Like, that's basically his whole. I'm gonna behave like, but I'm not gonna like run around all the time worried about this, and this. He said I'm these things, and I know I can. Then he discussed how it's okay to offend this group but not this group, and okay, and I was like, it makes sense. Like there are certain groups that it's perfectly okay to offend, and I'm not in certain groups. I'm saying, yeah, they need to be a little offended. Like if you're just a hateful group towards anybody, you need to be offended. But what he was saying is there's certain, like when we become such language police that I say this, which is just a word in the lexicon, it's not even but if I put it this way, all of a sudden it means this, but I didn't, it's not hate speech. It's something that wouldn't normally be deemed hate speech, but somehow in this context you decided it's hate speech. And they were asking him questions. I liked his matter of factness. I think I liked they were asking him like, how can some neo-Nazis follow you? He was like, I don't like neo-Nazis. He answered it straight like that. I don't like neo-Nazis. He said maybe they think because I say that I don't feel like being shouted down about this, they think I'm on their side. I'm not. I don't like them. I'm not for them. But I was watching him. I was like, I really can't completely. I'm sure if I watched enough of him, there'd be something he said that I disagree with, because that's the way it is. Period. Like no matter that people I disagree with, all the time that I think are brilliant, smart, non-racist, non-sexist, non-hateful people, and they'll say something or they'll side with something I don't think is agreeable, or I don't agree with it. But I think what we've lost, I don't know how we got here, but anyway, I think what just society's lost in general is the ability to disagree and still engage in intelligent discourse. And it's just a bunch of people like waiting to be heard. You have a conversation, and it's not really a conversation. People just sitting there waiting to say their piece, and then they're not hearing anything you're saying. So it never gets to this point where you solve anything. It's just a bunch of people going round and round and round and round and round, on these topics. And even, I say things on Facebook about, I keep it jokey most of the time, and then something will happen. Maybe I'll say a little something about it. But like, I see things on Facebook where people are like, take something, other people's comments completely out of context, or since they don't agree with something said, that maybe a friend posted, or somebody else disagrees with something I said, and they get shouted down and they get called, hey, shut up. I'm like, no, that's not the way to do anything. You can't. How do you get to the next? How do you get from point A to point B if you're like, shut up? It's like that's not a thing. It's like these are grown-ups should be able to have a better response than shut up. You should be able to respond, and you should be able to respond like with some semblance of tact, even if you vehemently disagree with what the person says. Because there are plenty of people I could just be like, shut up, but then what does that do?
You know what? To avoid wasting unlimited data, all I do is just say, I agree to disagree.
Yeah. And then some people, that's a cop-out. That's this. And it's like, no, we're just not going to meet on this subject. We're not going to agree.
Somebody actually told me on a radio show, Mike Fee's dad radio show, he told me, no, I don't accept that. I'm like, I'm like, okay.
I'm still finished. That doesn't diminish the fact that we're done. Like, like we're still finished. Like, that's the thing that kills me. People be like, no, you have to. And I've even gone as far as some people are like, that's immature. But I like, there was a person one time they said something. I was like, that's a little like blanket. That's too broad, too vague, too general. And then she decided she was going, why do you feel that way? And she's in my DM, like, why do you feel that way? I think we should have more of a discussion about this. And every time she had something else to say, it was a Snapchat filter. And I was like, first of all, I can't have an intelligent discussion with Snapchat filters. Secondly, you're very condescending. And I don't feel like being condescended to. And it was the end of the conversation. Like, she was like, boom. And I was like, she came for me like one more time. And I was like, I just didn't answer it. I deleted the conversation. I was like, because we're not having an intelligent conversation. I'm frustrated with the conversation. I was willing to admit this is just frustrating because you are so condescending that I can't stand your attitude. Like I'm not talking down to you or anything. I'm making points. And then you say something ugly and condescending. I'm like, this isn't a real discussion.
You're trying to drive me to a level of disrespect I don't want to go to. So
yeah. I don't feel like being disrespectful for. It's not fun. Like, and I am kind of like, if it's not fun and I don't have to do it, like there are things in my job that I have to do that aren't enjoyable, but I do them because they're my job. But this is strictly just my free time. And at that point I was like, wait a minute, this is my free time. you can't have my free time and then make me do things I don't enjoy. Like, not during my free time when I have a choice.
You got time to always talk on Facebook. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Most of the time I'm on Facebook, either I'm, in class or I'm using the bathroom. So,
yeah, it's like Facebook, and plus Facebook let you know, hey, this person said something, you might check it. I think social media has diminished everyone's ability to communicate properly. I think a lot of things have diminished people, and since I study communications, it's even, it makes me, I look at those things with a critical eye. I think more about it probably than other people think about it. And I think, it's diminished people's ability to pay attention. It's diminished people's ability to have a real discussion about something, and not, it caters to the part of us that really wants to be seen, heard, considered. It brings out the attention whore, and a lot of people like, I must, my wife would give me a hard time, like, your fans. I'm like, no, I don't have fans. I crack a joke, people laugh. We have a good time. If people are going to agree with me, some people are going to disagree with me. I don't. One thing, when people disagree with me, I'm not going to automatically agree with them to stop them from disagreeing with me. But I'm also not going to tell them, shut up, you're stupid, you're an idiot, curse them, anything like that. I'm like, I don't agree. I think this is why. I might be like, this is why I think you're wrong. I try not to be condescending, unless there have been times when somebody condescends. I'm like, I'm witty. We can both do this, and you're gonna be upset because my comeback's probably gonna be funnier. We can go ahead and have this moment if this is what you need to have a conversation. If this is what you need, I can be this thing that you're trying to be, that you think you're so this. And okay, well, here we go. Let's remember when you start trying to be offended, though, that you open this up. This is how you decided to come bring, this is what you decided to bring to the conversation.
And that's what happened yesterday with that post I was talking about, pretty much fat girls trying to diss, fat dudes, and old girl got offended. And I'm like,
you shouldn't be offended.
I'm like, you started this.
You started this discussion. You started the whole, like, you can't start a conversation that's inherently offensive. Like, it's already got offensive built in. It's like, and then expect somebody's answer to be exactly what you wanted to hear. I think that's the problem. Like, we people will push something, and social media makes you form these echo chambers, like, where everybody gets on there and they agree with you. Unless it's like, like a majority, especially if it's anything political. But then it's also like, it's kind of forced people to believe that their opinion really matters. Like, I think that's one thing when I get on there, I know, grand scheme of things, my opinion is not going to affect public policy. It's not going to affect anything. And when people get on there like, oh, I wish people quit talking about politics, well, get off Facebook. Or ignore the people talking about politics. Or, oh, I wish people quit talking about this. Well, what you want at this moment doesn't matter, because you're one out of however many billion people are on this platform. So make friends with the other million or so that don't talk about this thing, or leave it alone. But nobody cares how you feel at this moment about. If you don't want to talk about this, then avoid every post. Like, just the whole thing of reporting people's posts and doing all these things, and how they say companies you check this and check that. It's like, that's, in the grand scheme of things, my opinion does not form public policy. It doesn't do anything. And someone else's opinion, like when people have these opinions, like, most of the time they're still just walking around being normal. It's something about social media that brings this like, what I say matters, and I avoid, like, really, I don't curse on there or do stuff like that, but I have no problem. If you want to talk about something and this is where you choose to do it, I can be civil, I can disagree, I can, but in the grand scheme of things, this whole conversation doesn't matter. That's the way I look at it. It's like, none of this conversation matters. Like, if somebody hears this podcast and they're listening, they're like, they don't agree with something I say, great. Like, I didn't change anything. Like, if something I do changes something, then that's when I figure it matters. If I tell a student something and it's incorrect, or if we're talking about, if I give a piece of wrong information and that causes the student to not be as good as they can be at something, or if I tell somebody something and it affects someone in some way, shape, or form, then that matters. because I've affected somebody else. Something I've said or done has changed another person's situation. You know, if so that's why I'm real big on a few things when it affects people. That's the only thing I really care about. But in the grand scheme of things, I think social media can kind of bring out the, you know, it's a place in this industry that you want to exploit, because it's like I need to bring attention to whatever I'm doing. And I want people to pay attention. I want them to see. I want them to hear. And the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna take the people who already follow or pay attention to me and guide them to this page, this area. I want them to see this. But in the grand scheme of things, unless I'm running for president, or I'm gonna be a senator or a congressman or a city councilman or a mayor or whatever, or do something, a minister, something that affects somebody else's life, who cares what I think? You know, nobody's looking there like, well, let's see what Adrian has to say about this. Nobody cares at all. You know, it's entertainment. Like, if people would go take it back to that, like, it's technically entertaining in a way to keep up with people who you know, haven't seen in years, or you don't have close proximity to. But I don't care who you're deleting. I don't care, you know, I don't care who's in your friend circle. I don't care how many fake people you know. If you know that many fake people, maybe it's a you thing, you know. I don't care about all these things. I noticed though, I will say there's a very interesting racial dynamic on Facebook too, because like those fake people posts and those I'm deleting people posts and all that tend to come from us. And then if I crack a joke about, because I know I figured that out, because I crack a joke about certain things, and I have a friend who she cares not about how her inquisitive nature comes off, and I kind of like it. I dig. I've known her since high school, and she'll be like, Adrian, is that a thing? Like, she just pops up. Is that a thing? People really worry about that? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, I've never seen that before. I was like, well, that's because you're white, you know. And this is one of those things where it's just like, black people tend to talk about this thing, but I never see it on any of my white friends' posts. They never post anything about that. I will have white friends that post about I'm deleting people, but which I just think is like, nobody cares if you delete people. There might be one moment where I think once in my entire time I've noticed, oh, I guess this person deleted me, you know, and my life went on. Because most of the time, if it's somebody who deleted you, because Facebook already has people tricked into believing they have like 1,000 friends. It's like, I have maybe 7 friends who are like, these are my aces. I can trust these dudes.
Because I remember it's like, it was she's one of my best friends, and she actually deleted me from Facebook because we got into it over. I wouldn't even say get into it. You know me, I'm just
drop something out there and see what hits.
It's no such thing. No, I went to her post. She's talking about it was the whole I'm team single. I'm like, you can't be a team by yourself.
Yeah.
And she got upset over it.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'm just saying you can't be a team single. It's
an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron. It's just a fact.
I just gotta delete you. I'm like,
yeah, people block people. One of my buddies, he said something. I mean, this woman came on and was like, well, that's why, you know, because there's too many people that become Facebook geniuses. Like, you don't know what their real life is like, so you can't see that their life is horrible and this is all they have. So they come on and they're like this Facebook analyst, and they've decided that you're like this horrible thing, and then they start running down the reasons, and they make a long thread. And so my friend was like doing screenshots. He's like, man, do you see what this person is how they came at me, you know? And I'm like, whoa, it looks like maybe you ought to just not engage in this conversation with this person, because I said, really, at the end of the day, are you going to be pissed? That person obviously is crazy and pissed. And then y'all still haven't solved the problem. There's still no fixing it. It's kind of like, you know, there's certain topics you just don't, people say there's certain topics you don't discuss. And the weird thing is, there are a lot of people who just like to discuss that topic and then maybe be able to get to a point where everybody understands it. But people are so, like, I think there's a whole lot of things that have made people so weak that we can't have like just an honest discussion. Somebody here asked me once, like, well, she was just saying basically like, I wish people could just be real, you know? And I'm like, no, you can't be, that's not a thing. Like, you can't just have real, honest conversations about certain things, because somebody is always like sitting there just waiting for that one moment when they can be offended. Like, it's the opposite. Like, usually there used to be people who fish for compliments, you know, still are. I know plenty of people who say, oh, I'm so ugly. It's like, come on now. you just got off a photo shoot. Like, stop. Let's not do this. Let's not. Obviously, I'm looking for a compliment. But now people actually fish for offense. Like, I want to be offended. I'm waiting for this thing that you say where I can catch you in this moment where I can be offended. Like, and it's, if I really say something offensive, I'm here for it. Like, I was wrong. I'll even admit I was wrong. But a lot, except my wife would probably disagree with that. But like, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But most of the time, things that people are offended by or read a lot into, it's like, that's not even there. I don't even know how you found that. I don't even know how you found the offense. I could be like, I love cheddar cheese, and somebody be like, cheddar cheese? Well, why don't you like brie? I'm like, because I do like brie, but at this moment I'm feeling cheddar. Like, well, all cheese matters. It's like no, right here at this moment, this is what I'm feeling. Like, why can't? So people will find a reason to be offended with anything, and at a certain point, I don't know if I'm willing to walk around that kind of tight all the time, worried about like the other thing that somebody gets upset about or worried about. And even I think it's very dangerous for like this particular industry. Like, you're making movies, you're making, and it's kind of interesting. Movies always have a problem that's a little bit uncomfortable, or even comedians. Like, if you take away a comedian's ability to joke within good taste about things that people don't agree on, you basically taking away what's funny about anything and everything they can say. Every joke, whenever we're sitting around talking about jokes that people tell, my favorite comedians, technically somebody could be like, that's kind of messed up. And that's kind of what makes the joke funny too, though. It's like, it's kind of messed up, but it's probably true. The Patrice O'Neal skit that we were talking about, kind of messed up, but there's no doubt that it's true. You can watch the news and be like, oh yeah, that's true. They did search for this person, or the fact that he was saying they remembered one girl's name and they couldn't remember the other girl that was a victim of the same guy, and it was like, that's true. No one remembers, the second girl because she wasn't as pretty as the first girl. The first girl was pretty. There was a long search. They were doing all that stuff, and then the second girl was like, wow, that's messed up. It's also very, very true.
Oh, she was just collateral damage.
Yeah. It's just that's how it kind of looked like. That's kind of how they couched it, even in the news. It was like, oh, he got him another one. I mean, that's basically that was the way they reported the second time that dude killed somebody. It was like, hey, did it again. And in other news, like, I mean, show the picture of the girl. Then it was over. It was like, boom, we're finished. He got arrested, and I realized that was also they wrapped up the case after that. It was obviously him this time, and they, but at the same time, the public, even when, you watch the special and he mentions the first girl's name, everybody still remembers her name. Everybody, he's like, who's the second one? Nobody. Crickets. And so it was like, there are certain things that are just true. And I think you almost have a responsibility in filmmaking and in comedy. And I mean, if you're going to do something, I mean, not even that movies make all that much of a difference unless it's a documentary. Or if it's a docudrama and it tells a story that you didn't even know existed or happened. I feel like docudramas are the same way. I really enjoy those. But yeah, it's social media is something I'm kind of forced to study now, and I pay attention. I'm like, yeah. And my wife, her favorite thing about social media is to say that she's not on it a lot. But I kind of do pay attention to these things just because it's just.
Well, she gotta be on there a lot if she knows you got fans.
And I don't have fans. I have people that will comment or dig something I say, which everybody does. I think that's the one constant on social media. If you're just not the worst person ever, you got people who are going to agree, people who are going to disagree, and then you can disagree back, or you can see their point. I might even see some people's point and still disagree. Like, I can see your point and still be like, yeah, but there's nuance. There's other things that I don't have to agree with you. Just because you put your point out there, I see it, I acknowledge it, still don't agree with you, still don't believe what you're saying, don't accept it.
I'll say, well, with that being said, we're wrapping up another edition of Our Texas Magazine. Mr. Berry will be back with us next week. I want to thank Mr. Adrian Neely for stopping by.
Mr. Berry gonna make you cut like 95% of this out.
No,
the whole social media discussion. People probably be like, "Whoa."
No, all this is going on. This is YouTube. Nah. But I want to thank you for coming in for the interview. I mean, you got any last words?
No, it was fun. It was fun, and I like Mr. Berry a lot. Like he's an interesting dude. He's always got a lot of good input on things, a good outlook for some of this stuff. And then I realized Mr. Berry's got some things he's always thinking about. So, and I know you always got these topics swimming around in the back of your head. You're a big reader and all that, so you pay attention to all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, it was fun.
All right. Other than that, we'll catch you next Thursday, and hopefully our guest will be either Dr. Bernardo or
It's gonna be a good one.
Dr. Fortner.
Woo! Either one of those cats will probably have lots to say about lots. Like the social aspect will be fascinating.
Yeah, but other than that, we're out.